YouTube? Topaz Yates back for another daily review, and this one is to that Drake Summertime 16. And when I first heard that he was dropping a new track on his radio show and it was going to be called this, I'm like, okay, he's probably just dropping 16 bars and that's it. But nah, it's a full track and such, dude, in which actually pretty decent, dude. The thing that kills me about this track though is like it kind of is broken up into two sections and such, the first half and the second half, because the beat continues to evolve as it goes. It's just the beat in the beginning was not as good as the beat in the end, man, and I've always hated that shit. If you're going to do that type of thing, each aspect has to be equally as hot, or it becomes, okay, I'm just waiting for the beat to drop to make it to the second part because I really can't fuck with this first part all like that. But then as you break down the lyrics in it, he's throwing a bunch of shots here. Like in the first verse, he's pretty much talking about Meek Mill and such, because I guess Meek Mill continually dropping diss songs and all that shit instead of just holding his L like he needs to and jump into some other shit. He continues to try and attack Drake to try to get back at him when he already fucking lost. And that's pretty much what he's saying here when he's like, okay, we heard you the first time, you don't have to scream it. Quite honestly, I'm ready to move on from that whole beat, man, because there's nothing really that Meek Mill can do to come back at him, man, besides drop a classic motherfucking track, which I don't think he got it in him, man. Second verse gets a little more interesting too, because he's saying how the new Toronto is trying to sound like him a little bit. Who's dropping new Toronto music? Who's the one who just came out with a mixtape called The New Toronto? Tory Lanez, which that kind of throws me for a curve, but I kind of understand it because I made a bunch of videos before about how Tory Lanez was making a bunch of songs sounding like fucking Drake. Now Drake is calling him out on it somewhat, man, but this is just the type of nigga that Drake just seems to be. The type that's going to go ahead and put other people trying to come up down in order to keep him on top, because you look at him doing this whole thing towards The New Toronto, but then you go back to whenever like somebody comes out with a new sound or something, man, how Drake always try his hand at it and he makes his own version to be bigger than what the original actually was. So it kind of seems like he feeds off of the newer young dudes and try to keeps them down so he can keep his star burning bright. But overall, a decent track, man, nothing phenomenal and such, man, but one I would say go ahead and peep the fuck on out. But this concludes today's review, man, and now we're going to jump into a brief instrumental from underground producer Hash Beats before we jump into the news and do an article from downloadpads.com. See that not even a day after that Rihanna album dropped and such, they got certified platinum, in which that kind of makes me question some things like, is the certification moving that fast these days? Because before, you would have to actually motherfucking wait even after you sold the platinum mark for them to actually recognize that you sold certified platinum. But it's not surprising in the slightest, man, because, you know, Rihanna was going to sell big numbers out the gate regardless. But anyway, on to today's article from downloadpads.com, and today's article is about playing to your strengths, because it is fucking important for you in order to become a success in this game, you dig? Like, if you're not a very strong lyricist, do not make songs that's centered around making fucking punchlines. You have to focus on what makes you the best artist possible and then continue to grow from there. Not saying that you should only stick with whatever made you good in the fucking beginning, because you should always be trying to advance behind the scenes and shit. But until you reach a standard of quality behind the scenes, you should not put out the next thing that you're trying to go for, man, if it's not playing to the strengths that you've built yet. See, the thing that holds a lot of artists down is when they try to do things that they are no good at. Like when all these rappers out here try to fucking sing and they ain't got no voice. They've never had any tutors or anything to help them with their voices and such, man, but they still try to do that shit and put it out like it's gonna be dope when it's not. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpads.com, that's down there, to read today's article.